Sell Life Coaching. I'm Ashley Jangro, your host, and today we are hearing from business coach Jenna Harrison. Jenna is an incredibly successful coach and friend, and in fact, she just celebrated a $100,000 month in her business last month. So I'm really excited to share her story with you today as we reverse engineer how she built her coaching business. So I'd love for you to listen along, whether you're a life coach just starting out or you are someone who is ready to grow your coaching business. So thank you so much for being here today, Jenna.
It is such a pleasure, Ashley. So glad to be here.
I'm so incredibly excited to hear how you have done this. And for any of you that are listening right now during the live premiere, go ahead and drop in the comments where you're listening from. So, what kind of coaching you do, and then feel free throughout this episode to just ask any questions that you have. I'm there to chat in the comments and to connect with you. And then Jenna will be able to answer any questions after the fact as well. So, I'm really happy to hear from you. I'm so excited to hear your story. So, to start out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to describe what your business is like and kind of how you got started. So we're going to back up to the very beginning and outline how you got to where you are. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. How long have you been a business coach?
I was going to say, are you sure you want to take that road?
All the way back. I'd
Because
love to
it's
hear how you
quite
first got started.
twisty and turny. Yes. So I've been a coach for 7 years
Okay.
now, and I started out as a performance coach. So I was just going to help people accomplish their goals. And what happened is I was investing heavily in my business. I was learning so much. And then, of course, I wanted my clients to succeed. Now, because of
Mhm.
the circles I moved in, they tended to be entrepreneurs. And so I was passing along everything I knew. And before long, of course, the combination of the mindset, as we know, and the
Yes,
business tactics was pretty explosive. And they started calling me their business coach.
I love
And
that.
of course, I had a period of imposter syndrome where I was like, no, 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 can't do that. And finally, I was like, embrace it. And so I started calling myself a business coach as well, started bringing in more clients. And I could say the rest is history, but there was so much
But
more.
there's so many things. Well, I love this because I love that you said that it is like a twisty pathway. I don't know exactly how you worded that, but I think
Mhm.
that's so important for especially people who are just starting out to know. Like none of us are, well, maybe some people, but a lot of us are not doing what we originally set out to do. It kind of morphed as we went along. So, how long did it take you? Did you get certified 7 years ago as a coach?
No, no, I
Okay.
was not certified. And I think I coached for 5 years, 4 or 5 years
Okay.
before I decided to get certified. And I'm a person that doesn't like to fit into anyone's boxes. I didn't want to
Mhm.
do anything anyone else's way. And so it was very important for me to develop my own way of doing things and helping people
Which is perfect because what's the name of your business?
the uncommon way.
Perfect.
Yes. Yes. However, I noticed that there was one gap, one very glaring gap, which I was struggling to help my clients through, which was how do you create belief for yourself
Mm-hmm.
when you don't really believe it?
Oh,
And
that's so
so that is when I got, because of that clarity, I was able to say, this is where I need to grow. And that's why I want to work with this coaching program that I believe is the best in the world with that.
good. Uh-huh.
And that's when I went and got certified.
I love that you say that because I have a course on high ticket sales.
Mm.
It's called Your Basic Pitch. You can get it by going to yourbasicpitch.com. There's my basic pitch right there.
There you
Um,
go.
but we talk so much about belief at the very beginning. And I talk about before I became a life coach, I remember being taught you just have to believe. And I would like try really hard. I'd like close my eyes and clench my fist and try to believe, but I had no idea how to create belief if it didn't exist. So that's one of the modules. It's all about how do we create that belief when we don't have it there already. I love that you said that. So you started coaching high performers, and then it morphed into business coaching. How were you getting clients at that point?
So at that point, I was moving around on Facebook, being
Mhm.
in different groups, dropping different posts very strategically that would uh, entice people to connect with me. And so at the time I had, I guess what now would be called kind of a mini offer. It was no charge, but it was something that would allow me to get on the phone in person with someone and
Mhm.
actually help them develop kind of a mini transformation of some sort. And then from there, very, frequently, they would ask if I could, right, how would they work with me?
That's
And so it
perfect.
became a numbers game.
Uh-huh.
I knew that if I dropped a post with a certain type of offer into a group, I'd get maybe 10 people that would be interested,
Uh-huh.
and a couple of them would become clients.
Oh,
And
that's fantastic.
as a new mom at the time, when I finally developed this for myself, I needed that flexibility in my business, or I believed I did.
Mm.
And so it was really nice because when I wanted to bring on a new client, I could.
You knew
And when
exactly what
I
to do.
didn't want to, I would just through attrition allow
Mhm.
myself some space.
Oh, that's fantastic. So when you were going into these Facebook groups, you were kind of engaging, you were adding value, all of that. How did
Mm.
that work if you were putting an offer in there? Was that ever something that people, the Facebook group owners were bothered by?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I spent actually years, or it's so funny, everything elongates in time. I'm like, I
Yes.
spent 5 years doing that, but it felt like I spent years blogging, just blogging, right? Waiting for
Mhm.
the clients to come. And I spent years just adding value in Facebook groups, waiting for the clients to come. Right. And so when I decided that I was going to get very focused about how I was engaging and not really in a I wouldn't I hear this sometimes, like you need to be able to give some information, but not enough information. And you're right, you're
Mhm.
getting very tactical about it. That's not really what I'm talking about. I just knew that I was going to focus my time on the people that most needed me. And I was
Mm.
going to help them through the transformation that I knew they most needed.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you weren't even worried about, I'm going to withhold a certain amount. You were helping them get that transformation so they knew that they could trust you with whatever they needed to transform in the future.
Right, right. So part of the process, I believe, in having a conversation like that, and in terms of thinking about continuation and people coming on, is that we just don't know what we don't know.
Mhm.
And so, for instance, I was helping people with clarity, really
Mhm.
getting clear. The thing I was offering is I will help you get clear on what kind of business you want to start, right?
Oh,
What
okay.
kind of coaching? Who do you want to help? What kind of offer do you want to have? And so I knew from my own experience that when I was in that stage, what I believed is if I can just get clear, watch out world.
Yep.
Right. And then I
Yep.
would not need a coach. I wouldn't need any help.
Be able to
It
do it
would be
all.
a done deal. And I would just like go straight through the stratosphere. What I found out was that wasn't true. And so, what's so important is to help people understand. And that in itself is such a gift. And you really have to believe that. But helping people understand what they don't yet know. And
Mm.
so helping them get clarity for me was like a no-brainer. I
Mhm.
can absolutely do that because I had to do it for myself. But letting them know in a way there where they still felt safe why they would want to continue and how I could help them and what
Yes.
was next for them, that's where the magic comes in terms of moving from just giving value to actually creating clients.
I love that. That's so good. So you would do that during that initial kind of coaching session.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
So I often say that I think of the number three, right? You
mhm.
need to find out if you can move three people through to saying yes. And these are
Mhm.
people that are starting with the same kind of issue, and you need to learn to understand what it is that they need in order to feel safe and say yes. And so that's what I was practicing on these calls
Mhm.
that helped me get so good at understanding my people and what exactly they needed to learn in order to
Mhm.
feel safe saying yes. And I got to test that in real time with them. So by the time I stopped doing the Facebook thing, I still to this day use a lot of the same language, the same metaphors, same analogies when I'm
Mhm.
explaining what I do to people.
Oh, this is fantastic. So,
Yeah.
do you remember, if you think back to that first year, do you remember about how much you were charging and how much you earned that first year?
So first year being the year that I just blogged,
Mhm.
hoping people would find me, I made absolutely no money.
I love
and
sharing
and
them.
I just blogged and I invested in a whole bunch, death by mosquito, a whole bunch of different things here and there. And so I don't know exactly what my investments would have been at that point, but it was probably somewhere around
Okay.
$7,000 or
Okay.
something, and no money. And then the second year, I think I continued to invest, and I think I made it was either 100 or $150.
Oh my goodness.
in my
Second
second year of
around.
business.
Okay. I love this. I
Yes.
love that you kept going too.
Yeah, hell yes.
Gosh, you were like,
Absolutely.
I'm not stopping. Okay.
No, no. And then after that, I don't remember the exact progression, but it was something in like the $20,000 range. And
Uh-huh.
I was charging, I think, $1,500 for 3 months of coaching. And obviously, when you're charging those rates, you need a lot of clients to
Uh-huh.
start having anything measurable. So it continued. And then I finally, invested at a larger scale, became more serious myself about the business as well, more willing to take risks. And then my income continued to grow. So then it was like 100,000, 200,000. I think this year we'll do about 300,000.
Wow. Okay. So when you're talking about investments, I assume you're talking about software and those kinds of things, but then also coaching. Can you tell me about those investments?
Yes. So coaching is by far not just the biggest line item in my business,
Uh-huh.
it's really the largest line item in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband is in the military. We're very, very fortunate, active duty, that we don't pay for healthcare. We don't even own the house that we're living in. It's, military issued house. He receives a stipend for that. And so I understand that that's unusual, but we've also made choices where we keep our cars for a long time, right? And I've done a lot of these exercises to say, obviously, I could buy a nicer car. Do I want to? No. I love my Hyundai. I love it so
Amazing.
much.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yes. And so it is the largest line item in our lives, really, is
So
my coaching.
you, as you talked about taking, riskier investments, you mean you continue to invest more with a coach?
Correct.
And do you feel like that was maybe the biggest differentiator between when you weren't earning and when you were?
Yes. So there was a point where two things happened.
Okay.
One is that I put a fire under my ass in the biggest way when I first scared myself with an investment, right?
Okay.
It really
Yes, because you
created.
invested and you're like, oh, now I need to show up.
Exactly. Exactly. And so for me, of course, it's not for everyone, but
Mhm.
for me, it helped me with a lot of the fear and resistance around doing things that are uncomfortable that otherwise I might have been able to hide away from. But once I had invested like that, I knew I needed to really follow this and
Mhm.
try everything and listen to my coach, right? And do all the things. And then that was kind of my first level.
Mhm.
Then what started happening is that over time, I started to think about how much I had invested in my business.
Mhm.
And it created a lot of shame for me and a lot of
Mhm.
worry. I thought that I wasn't seeing the results that I should be seeing by now, and everyone else was doing better than me, and all the things.
Mhm.
And then I finally had this amazing thought, which is, wait a minute. I may be close to $100,000 in debt. Let's just
Mhm.
say I keep going and and it's $100,000 in debt that I've created. But someday I'm going to have $100,000 year,
Mhm.
and that's going to wipe out that debt. And then I'm going to keep going the next year and the year after that and the year after that, earning $100,000 or
Mhm.
maybe more. Because someday, what if I have $100,000 quarter?
Mhm.
And what if someday I have $100,000 launch or $100,000 month? Which is why this $100,000 month was so deeply meaningful to me,
Because that
because
had been propelling you forward.
exactly. And I was literally in my present now of what used to just be a dream future. It was like the throwaway, and maybe there'll be $100,000 month.
Oh,
But it was actually the fruition of all of that belief. And when just that thought, I say that revelations come before results.
mhm.
So just having that thought all of a sudden created, right, so much drive
Mhm.
and certainty. And I just started showing up so differently even then.
Yeah.
And
Because you were
that was
like,
a
I'm a
huge turning
person,
point.
you thought I'm a person who will eventually have $100,000 month.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. And I think this is so valuable. This is so incredibly valuable because it would have been easy for you to get stuck in that shame and decide, I'm done investing. This isn't happening. This isn't working. And
Right.
so you could have stayed there, but you just continued to believe. Do you feel like that was kind of, I mean, you've already mentioned that one thought. What do you think were any other thoughts that were the driving force behind you continuing even without those results right there?
Right, right. So the one is that this will all be worth it,
Yep.
was the actual way I
Love
thought of it. This will all be worth it. But the second one is that I had developed so much clarity around my purpose
that.
that even if it wasn't working out, I
Mhm.
had already decided there were no other possibilities or options for
Wow.
me. Right. So it wasn't like, well, maybe I should try this or maybe I should try that instead. It
Yeah.
was, I need to figure this out because it connects all the dots in my life. It's all been leading up to
This
this.
is it for me. This was one of my driving thoughts before, when I was still in my first year. I remember thinking, I'm going to be a wildly successful life coach, and there is no other option.
Mhm.
Just decided that's my decision. This is going to happen. I'm not sure how, but I'm going to get there. And I
Right,
love that thought. Oh, that's
right.
so good. So you continued through, those first 3 years until maybe your fourth year, you feel like you hit 100K around then.
Fourth or fifth year.
Okay,
I
maybe fourth
feel
or
like
fifth
I
year.
had a couple years that were like 30,000 or 20, 30,000, 50,000, 70, something like that. And
Okay.
then it
So you kind
was
of
like
slowly grew.
slowly grew. Yeah. And then 100 was a big turning point.
Yeah. What were you offering at that time?
When I was at the 100,000 level,
Yes. What was your offer or
I
offers?
I think I was just one-to-one at
Okay.
that
So you were
point.
doing one-on-one coaching, and
Yes,
it
I
was
had
like a,
tried some programs before. But I actually had a coach in the time that counseled me to just single focus, slow
Mhm.
down,
Mhm.
not rush ahead. And so I'm pretty sure I was one-to-one for my first $100,000 year. And I think my rate might have been, oh, isn't it funny how we forget the details?
Yes.
It might have been $10,000.
Okay. For like
It
six
might have been
months, for a
more.
year, for what?
Oh, sorry, that would have been for 6 months.
Okay. So maybe around 10K for 6 months. Were you still at that time primarily using that strategy of blogging, then providing value in Facebook groups and getting people on the calls? Okay. So tell me where you went. How were you getting clients at that point?
No. At that point, I had already changed to having landed on the first page of Google
Mhm.
for business coaches for women.
This is what I remember you telling me at one point.
Yes.
That
So
did.
business coaches for female entrepreneurs, anything like that. Now I'm also ranking for masterminds for female entrepreneurs, mindset coaches for female entrepreneurs, anything that has to do with female entrepreneurs. I tend to be around the first page.
I love
And
it.
so that happened probably my third year of business
Mhm.
or so. And yeah, that is definitely my primary revenue stream and client acquisition method, although obviously there are a few others that kind of come in, like through
So,
my coaching school, through referrals,
mhm.
things like that.
So
Yeah.
complete strangers
Yes.
Google something, they find you, they read
Yes.
through your content, maybe spend some. Do you know how long typically a client might read your? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So my typical client finds me on Google.
Mhm.
They resonate deeply with what I've written on one page
Mhm.
and they book a call right then and there
After one page. So you're
after
seeing,
one page.
oh
Yes.
wow. And are
They,
these blog posts that are ranking or your homepage?
it's my services page. It's
Oh
my work with me
wow.
page.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And that I did not try to optimize for SEO,
I was
right?
just gonna ask that.
That was created as a services page, but it's deeply resonant language.
Mhm.
And so it draws people in. And I have people telling me that they're just scrolling through being like, where can I book? Where can I book?
Mhm.
And then they book. Now, there is another subset of people that come on and then they hop to my podcast, they look at my Instagram, they hang out, but
Mhm.
it's typically maybe 2 weeks is the
Wow.
most time people will spend.
So I also remember you talking about how you created that the wording on your page. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a view that service businesses are very simple. They're
Mhm.
hard for us to build as women because of all of the mental things that come up, and it's a
Mhm.
beautiful personal development journey because of it. But really, it's just three things. It's you really need to know yourself, you need to know your secret sauce, you need to know what you are building. And then the second thing is really know your people,
Mhm.
like exactly how they think about their problem, what they want, what the solution really is for them. And then the third thing is just talk about how those two things overlap, how they relate, right? Which creates safety for them to see that you're the person, now's the time, all the
Yes.
things,
So
right? So it's
tell me then, how
okay.
did you get that wording? How did you figure out what they were thinking, what they were saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So back to your first question, the reason that language is so resonant,
Uh-huh.
about 70% of it is client language,
I love that.
meaning it's ideal clients, not just anyone that I'm listening to out in the world, but people that I have discerned are just the perfect people to get amazing results from my program.
Mhm.
Listening to them very actively and intently about what they think their problem and the solution is, and asking them very strategic questions that will elicit the information, like the way of thinking that they have, which I can then put into my messaging, right?
I
Which I
love
can then answer in posts, which I can create podcasts around, right? It really just comes from that active listening and
Mhm.
asking the right questions. So I can
That
give you an example if you want.
okay. I would love for an example.
Okay. Okay. So very often you can ask, like, if there were just one thing that you think would make such a difference,
Mhm.
right? If you could just
Mhm.
figure out that one thing, what would it be? That is a very important question
Mhm.
because so often when we have the big picture, we're spending a lot of time thinking about what we think is important
Mhm.
for people to learn when really they are just dying for this one piece of information. And so that piece of information can become a really effective lead magnet. For instance, right? Later on,
Yes.
you can scale that. That can be your webinar title,
Mhm.
right? There's so much there that helps you understand what really captures their attention first and foremost.
Oh, good. Yes. So, just so that people can go back and replicate this strategy, how did
Mhm.
you get in a position to ask them those questions?
Well, a lot of it came through creating in-person
Mhm.
experiences. And so there are all different ways that you can create an in-person experience with somebody. And I really recommend that over any kind of polling that you might do,
Mhm.
right? Any aggregated survey or anything like that. Like you really want to be able to ask them, but why? And
Mhm.
well, but then what it right, you wanna be able to go deep with someone, which a lot of us feel scared about in the beginning, and we wanna just stay behind our computer screens. But a couple things happen when you have that in-person conversation, and for me, it was through these Facebook group offers that I
Okay.
was mentioning.
So then they'd get on a call with you and then you could ask them face to face.
Right. Right, because in order to help them create the transformation, I need to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
I need to know what they're working on or why they're not clear,
Yeah.
right? And
In
in
their
asking
own
those
words.
questions, I'm also learning so much. I'm learning about them in order to help them, but I'm also learning what other people are probably thinking and just haven't said.
Mm. I feel like this is such valuable information. Like this
Oh,
is right
good.
here is such a useful strategy. If this was the only thing that people did, get on a call with their ideal customer, and there's thousands. I mean, there's an infinite number of ways you can get that to happen.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and it is so important because, Ashley, it is something that I see so many entrepreneurs skip.
Yes,
Like,
because we have
"Oh."
an idea and we get married to our idea.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely, and so this piece of really understanding how they think, like, I've heard people that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I coach women at all different income levels,
Mhm.
all the way, and sometime they had a lot of success with the first offer, and they're multiple 6 figures or more, and then this other offer, it's just not working, and when I ask them about that offer, they can tell me exactly why they believe it's such a great idea and why it should definitely it's the thing their clients need.
Yeah.
But can they tell me with that level of clarity why their clients think they need it? Why their clients want it? Why
Mhm.
their clients need it? No. And that's the clarity gap. that they need to
I
close
love
in order
this.
to be successful.
I have this is exactly what I teach too. So I love
Oh,
that we're
good.
connecting on that so well. But I talk about the same thing. I had couple months ago, I had a month where I sold $40,000 in coaching, and that was like a huge
Congratulations.
milestone for me. And it
Yeah.
was exactly this. It was getting on the phone with people and saying, what is it that you're struggling with? I mean, I started with an idea, right? That I had heard people talk about and I had seen come up in Facebook groups and this kind of thing. So then I would call people that I believed were my ideal clients and I would
Uh-huh.
say, tell me about this. What is it exactly that you're struggling with? Here's my idea of how I want to serve you. But I just kept asking questions and then taking amazing notes. So I would go
Yes.
back and re-listen to it and listen to their wording. And eventually I had an offer that was exactly what they wanted, not
Yes.
necessarily what I had decided they needed.
Yes, yes. And of course, always within integrity, right? We're
Mhm,
not going to sell people things that we're not really going to give them or we don't believe
mhm,
they need, right? But we're learning to speak their language and
mhm.
maybe amplify on that a
Yes.
little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, I am so big on selling in integrity and with, in an ethical manner. And the thing that was so valuable for me to learn was not, you hear salespeople talk about sell them what they want and then give them what they need. And that never sat right with me. I didn't like that. So I started thinking of it as it's almost like we're speaking two different languages. Like maybe I'm
Mhm.
speaking English, they're speaking Spanish, or vice versa. And I'm
Yeah.
saying it in English when really they need to hear it in Spanish. So I would say, sell them in their language,
Yes.
not sell them what, and then within the container, you can teach them a different language. Maybe it's,
Yes.
your mindset wording or the way you word it from a coaching perspective, but it's just two different languages. So I love that you said that. It's so good.
Oh, it's everything. It's
Yeah.
everything. And I believe it's also of deep service to
Mhm,
listen to somebody in that way.
mhm.
So every time I hear somebody talking about how they really want to serve people and this is the way, right? There's a disconnect there. I'm like, if you really you care about them, then you
Yes.
want to hear what they think and
Mhm.
what they believe and what will help them feel safe. Yeah.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
tend to believe that as coaches, we generally care about people a lot. And I think
Yeah.
that that's so valuable. I talk a lot about how a sales call can be just as incredibly transformative as a coaching session because the
Mhm.
vast majority of the call, you're listening. And somebody
Right.
walks away from that feeling heard and feeling understood. And that's a powerful transformation in itself, or can have a powerful transformation itself. This is
Right.
wonderful. So, talk to me about okay, so you're around in your fourth or fifth year, you're
Mhm.
finally hitting that point where you're at 100K. You said that was a pivotal moment. Where do you feel like you hit that moment where you felt like I've made it?
Okay, this is a great story. I
Okay.
have to tell this one too. All right. So this was actually, I think, prior to 100K.
Okay.
And oh gosh, so funny. I should have written this all out beforehand if I'd known, but I think it was before 100K. And I was applying to a mastermind.
Hmm.
It is well known. And I was sure that I was a shoe-in. After all, I'd been in business for years, right?
Uh-huh.
I helped people create these amazing transformations and I thought I was really ahead of the game. I got rejected.
Oh,
I was
wow.
not accepted to the mastermind.
Okay.
And I took a day to be disappointed. I
Mhm.
remember taking my dog for a walk and thinking, why am I so disappointed? What is it that I was hoping to get or that I thought would happen if I joined this mastermind? And I realized I had the thought, then I'll be one of those elite coaches.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, and
Mhm.
as soon as I had that clarity, I was like, "Cha-ching, I don't think I'm an elite coach." Now,
Wow.
I was already on the first page of Google by that
Mhm.
point, but guess what, Ashley? I never believed I belonged there.
Wow. So once you uncovered that,
Once I uncovered that, I went to work on that,
mhm,
and I realized very quickly that I did, but before I did, what I did is I decided to apply already for the next round of the mastermind that would happen in 6 more months.
okay.
So I went home and I rewrote my application as if 6 months had passed, and I wrote down everything that I had accomplished in those 6 months and
Okay.
all the learning I had had and all the things that had happened. And then I went to work on how I actually do deserve to be on the first page of Google, and I'm an amazing business coach and the best coach for my people, of course. And then I made all of those things happen, not in 6 months, but 1 month.
Oh my gosh, this is giving me goosebumps. So
Yeah.
you looked ahead 6 months and you said, here's who I've become. And then you
Yes,
almost wrote your roadmap for the next 6 months.
I
What did
did.
it
And
take 6 months?
yes, and I remember part of that then was having a group program.
Uh-huh.
In 6 months, I would have,
Mhm.
created a group program. I think I can't remember all the different things. Oh, but I would have, I remember I was going to bring in another $25,000.
Okay.
And I brought that all in 1 month.
Oh my gosh.
$25,000 for the group, did the whole thing in one
Okay.
month.
Okay. So
Once I unlocked that belief.
oh, this is so good. So I
Yeah.
wrote down, you also wrote, you said that building a business is a beautiful personal journey. And this is
Yes.
what you're talking about. You're like, look at all
Yeah.
the growth I did because I decided that this is who I was going
Hmm.
to be within 6 months. So how did you hit that 25K month? What were you
Yes.
offering that group program?
That 25K month, what happened was it was still one-to-one, but
Okay.
I'd always had this idea, if only so and so, my one-to-one client, could talk to so and so,
Okay.
because they're so similar in this way,
Uh-huh.
right? Or they so and so just went through that thing too. And right, and if they weren't just hearing it from their coach, if they were hearing it from another peer, it would be so helpful. And yet I hadn't really acted on that. And what I did then is that I started selling the group component as well. So
Okay.
it wasn't that I was selling a group instead of one-to-one, it was a hybrid. And that's
Okay.
still what I sell, by the
Okay.
way,
So
are
yeah,
hybrids.
tell me about that. So that's remained your offer since then. What is that? What does it look like?
No, so the rates have changed
Uh-huh.
and the configuration has changed as well, but I found that that hybrid one-to-one group is
Okay.
something I really value for myself and that
Yes.
I, of course, love to give to my clients as well. So now I have two offers. One is a 6 month, generally a mastermind program, although I do offer some one-to-one calls as well. And that is a $10,000 program.
Okay.
And then I also have my one-to-one coaching, which again, it's 6 months. It's the same group of women. It's the same type of curriculum. It's just that we have a lot more one-to-one calls, and that's a $25,000 offer.
Okay. So with the group program, do you meet weekly?
We do.
And
Yeah.
then there's a certain number of one-on-one calls during that 6 month period.
Yeah. And they correspond to those different phases that I mentioned. Like after the know yourself work, we have a one-to-one call after, right? So
Okay.
they're staggered strategically. It's not just like choose some
Whatever
one-to-one
you want.
calls.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's a sweet spot now. And
Oh,
so it's
that's
been
good.
over a year that I've had that offer, maybe even two.
Okay. And then you do the 6 months of one-on-one for
Yes.
25K. What are
Yes.
the results that someone can expect working with you?
So with the Clarity Accelerator, they
Mhm.
will leave knowing exactly how to talk about their offer and believe it,
Okay. Oh, I love that.
which is a
Okay.
key one.
Mhm.
Yes. My clients that come in on the private level tend to be more interested in reinvention. They tend
Okay.
to be more interested in leveling up to a new level and reaching new heights in their business. And they've understood that what they've been doing so far has only got them so far. And
Mhm.
they really want to just create something anew
Mhm.
and step into what they're here to do.
That's amazing. And so you mentioned right before we got on this call that you're not necessarily using social media or networking events to get these clients,
No,
all
no.
coming from people finding you on Google.
Right, right. They tend to find me on Google. I do have a podcast now.
Mhm.
Some people do come through the podcast, but it tends to be just an area where people go to confirm what they already believe
Mhm.
about me
Mhm.
rather than a lead generation source.
This is amazing. I mean, you're really challenging my beliefs right now because my
Oh, tell me.
preferred way of getting clients is one on or as in person. So going to in-person
Oh,
events, meeting people. I mean, first of all, I love it because I'm such an extrovert. So
nice.
it partially just feeds my energy. But I have this belief that you cannot get a $25,000 client online without ever having met them.
Oh,
Isn't that
yeah.
interesting?
Well, I do actual consultations still.
So you
So
meet
I
them
do
on
have,
Zoom.
No, actually, we talk on the phone.
Oh, really? Not even on
Yes.
video.
Yes. So
Okay.
I am an auditory processor.
Uh-huh.
And because I'm taking such detailed notes, which is also a little bit of what I talked about, the market research, really
Uh-huh.
understanding them. But nowadays, I know my clients so well that really it's a record for them and
Mm.
for me to get back to the exact language they were using when we first started working together. But yeah, when I'm on a call, a consultation call or a discovery call, whatever you want to call it, I have my head down. I'm typing, I'm thinking, and anytime I look up at a person, it takes me
It's
out.
gone.
It's gone. And so there are some people that it's really important to them to meet on Zoom. And then I'm like, okay, let's meet on Zoom.
Yeah.
But typically I don't even offer it. And I just say, I'll give you a call. And then I
Wow.
give them a call, or if they're overseas. So I have clients all the way from Singapore to France.
Right. And you
And
don't want to do
so
that on the phone.
obviously that's on Zoom too.
So generally you end up on one call with them, and by the end of the call, they've hired you as
Yeah.
their coach.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. So I
Yeah.
think that's so fantastic. And I guess I don't actually believe that. I believe that you can get that without having met someone. I just think, because I believe it, it's obviously going to be easier for me if I can meet people in person because it's my belief. I
Right.
think this is so amazing. What you are exuding is so much clarity about yourself and the way you work. And it's
Mhm.
so clear why you are able to bring other people to a point of clarity because you have that with yourself. It's amazing.
Thank you. My clients have called me the queen of clarity
It's
before.
it's really incredible. Like it comes through and as you speak and as you explain what you've done. So it's really neat. So
Thank
do you
you.
feel like there were any and I don't know what you did before you were a coach. Do you feel like you were bringing in any skills from before you were a coach? Let me tell you why I'm asking this. I'm asking because I'm wondering, is this something that if someone were to have those same beliefs, that same drive, that same desire to continue no matter what, is it something
Mhm.
that another person could replicate, or is it because you had other skills that allowed you to do this?
Oh, that is such a great question. I believe that anybody who wants to have a business can have a business, and
Mhm.
anyone that wants to be a coach can be a coach. And that was not always my belief.
Mm.
In the beginning, I really felt that, and I worried in integrity about selling things to people,
Mhm.
selling this, right? What if it's not right? Now I believe, especially after my own journey, if you keep at it, you will develop the skills.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
that deep belief too.
Yeah, I love it, and it's yeah, like I said, it's not something that I think is intuitive for us because we're not raised in a culture
Mm-mm.
where, of course, everyone can be an entrepreneur. Well,
Right.
maybe now with younger generations more and
Right.
more, they're feeling that, but definitely not when I was growing up, and so I just love knowing that it's possible, that it's not necessarily for everyone, right?
Mhm.
And there's no better or worse around it. But if you want it, go get it. And
And you
so, what
can.
was building up for me, it wasn't necessarily a skill set, it was a fire inside,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And so, it was very much a call, and all the time spent kind of rejecting the call and not right giving into the call, letting my brain tell me all the reasons I should stay in corporate and
Uh-huh.
all the things, right? And all the reasons I should just be happy and just be satisfied with this
Yeah.
and it's good enough and all of the things. And as that fire continued to burn, that was all ready for me when I came into this.
Oh, that's amazing. So you just had this real deep desire for something else. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always felt like if I could just get clear on what this business was that I was going to
Mhm.
create, watch out world, because I was
Yeah.
very good at once I had a roadmap of executing and making things happen.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize is that it was a protective mechanism to not get clear.
Mm. Say more about that. Tell me more about that.
The longer that I could stay in confusion,
Mhm.
the for me, and it's always different reasons for all of us, but for me, it was about not wanting to fail. And so
Mhm.
I never had to go out on a limb and fail,
Mhm.
right? If I maybe didn't, I always did well in corporate jobs, but let's say I hadn't, oh well,
Mhm.
it just wasn't for me. it's not really my thing.
Yeah.
It's not what I care about, right?
Mhm.
But if I were here to say, okay, this is what I care about, this is what I believe in so much, this is what I'm dedicating myself, and then I fail,
Yeah.
oh hell no. Like that could not
That's can
happen.
happen. Mhm.
And so it was very easy for me to receive all the accolades. Oh, Jenna's got so much potential.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Jenna would, once she figures this out,
If.
she's just going
Uh-huh.
to take the world by storm. And I got all the accolades without having to run any of the risk. It was the
Mm.
perfect situation. And that's why I stayed there for 2 decades, because
Yeah.
it was only like a very smart brain, of course, that would do that, would
Yeah.
keep me right where I was.
Yeah. So
And
how do
so
you feel like you pushed through that?
well, first of all, I did hit rock bottom, as
Mhm.
unfortunately so many of us do, and I then was able to identify the failure piece.
Mm. Mhm.
That really allowed me to unlock. And the way I started thinking about it was, um, they say that in clarity or in hindsight, you can find clarity, right? In
Mhm.
hindsight, you can connect the dots and see how everything led you up to what you're doing now. And I finally realized, wait a minute, if those dots are there, they're here already. And
Oh.
I'm just not perceiving them, right? I'm just
Yeah.
not seeing them yet.
Mhm.
And so if I can change the frame, change the lens that I'm using
Mhm.
to evaluate my life, then I might be able to see what my future self can see so clearly.
Wow, that was really powerful.
It is
So
powerful.
you were
Yeah.
trying to look at your situation with the clarity of hindsight in the present
Mhm.
moment.
Correct.
You were like time
Yes.
traveling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, I think about it now, it seems very clear to me. It makes so much
Mhm.
sense. It's like we
Mhm.
are all here. We perceive the world, we create meaning differently and in
Mhm.
unique ways. And so, because of the way we're wired, our experiences, all the things, we are always, trying to solve problems in
Mhm.
our brain. There are certain things that are important to us. So, you and I actually could live through the same event
Mhm.
and I wouldn't remember it at all. But
Yeah.
for some reason, it would stick with you
Yep.
because it's important to you, right? In the meaning you're making. And so, if that is how I teach people to really distill down the events and look at the themes, and you start noticing that thing that happened when you were 7 has a lot to do with that thing that happened when you were 17 as well,
Mm.
right? And there are
Mhm.
these recurring themes that our brain is always trying to process or work on,
Mhm.
and they're deeply important to us.
Mm.
And as you can do that work to understand what those things are that are really driving you, that really make you, right, either get
Mhm.
fired up or light up, or, right, it can come in different ways. Chances are, when you see them in black and white and you have like 3 to 5 of them, you'll be like, that one.
Wow.
Sometimes it's scary because that
Yeah.
one is the scary one. You're like,
Yeah.
this one would have been a lot more comfortable to work on,
Yes,
right?
much easier. But here is
Yes.
this one. Wow. So that's how you help people get clear on their offer. You help them find those 3 to 5 things that is that kind of where you go with that?
It's that's the very, very beginning
Okay.
stage of
Uh-huh.
it, but yes, but clients have used it in all different ways. So I believe that, so on back to the website. Remember,
Uh-huh.
this all ties together. So back to the website, that's all client language. That website resonates because it is very like resonant, conscious language.
Mhm.
They're like, yes, I need clarity. Yes, this is what I need. It's helping their rational, logical brain. But there's another thing too, and that's the subconscious resonance, right? They don't quite know why they're so drawn to this.
Mhm.
And for me, that's about the uncommon way. That
Mm.
is what
Mhm.
my theme is about, right? And
Mhm.
that's where we're creating subconscious resonance, because I'm really calling to the people that don't want the cookie cutter formula,
Yes,
that
the
want to
demo.
build this unique, different business.
Mhm.
And so when you can create both conscious and subconscious, it's helpful. So I've had clients, like I had a client who was doing luxury brand consulting, and she was
Mhm.
helping people with their user experience throughout the whole like buying chain. And
Mhm.
she'd help them cross their T's, dot their I's, make sure everything was perfect. And so when she did her themes, there was a theme that really corresponded to that really well. And she
Mhm.
thought she should pick that theme. But
Oh.
strangely enough, what was really calling to her as very important work in the world was something completely different.
Oh,
It
that's
was
fascinating.
about this kind of immediate transformation where all of a sudden everything changes for you. And when she allowed herself to lean into that, she realized that her ideal clients also want to bring that vision into the
Wow.
world. And they were brands that didn't want to just keep doing what they were doing.
Mhm.
They wanted a complete overhaul. These are the people, these are like Tom Ford and Gucci, who are
Yeah.
like, Gucci's like, we don't want to keep doing this thing we've been doing for 100 years. We're bringing in Tom Ford and we are going to change our complete brand identity.
Oh my goodness.
Those were her people, right?
Wow.
But if she hadn't allowed herself to lean into what she truly wanted, what she
Uh-huh.
was truly about, and to believe that there's so many layers to this, but then to
Yes.
believe that there are enough people out there to support your business that
Mhm.
desperately want just that secret sauce that you have,
Mhm.
right? And that you can come together and that it can be that easy and it can just be like
Mhm.
fireworks, right?
So good. I
Yeah.
love this. My coach refers to it as a through line. So it's like when you look back on your life, and I remember looking that up recently because I'm like, is that a known term? And it turned out that it was like a literary term. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
in a novel or in a story or in a series of books or anything, you can always see that through line that's happening. And again, like you're talking about, we can see it when we're looking backwards. We can find our life's through line and
Yes.
where did these themes continually pop up in our lives? That's so great. And then you find what it is that makes up your own secret sauce.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
And you
Oh, that's
allow
beautiful.
yourself to follow your through line to its
Mhm.
natural conclusion. You
Mm.
don't allow
I
your
mean,
fears in your brain to get in the way.
this is already like getting me in my head, and I'm like, oh, wow, I want to sit and think through this all. You're
Oh,
giving
thanks.
us such chewy food for thought that we can think about afterwards.
Oh, well, that's what I'm
Really
here
incredible.
for. It's like you never know what idea you'll put
Uh-huh.
out there that will allow someone to ping off and go in
Yes.
their direction. It's just a really beautiful, like humbling, wonderful space that we're all in
Yeah.
with social media and everything, that we can drop one little nugget and
Mm.
we'll never even meet the people
Mm-mm.
that might change something.
That are impacted by it.
Yeah. And
Really
for
good.
me, I have never talked to half the people that have influenced me,
That's
right?
a
That have created
yes,
such
that's
change
so
in my
true. They
life.
have no idea.
Right. They have no idea that I
Oh
read
my
their
goodness.
book and was like,
Yeah.
wow, there you go, you know?
Change everything. That's so great. So I
Yeah.
want to ask you this question and then we'll get to actually let's go there first. Tell me about your 100K month. How did that happen?
Okay. So part of the beauty there is that
Mhm.
I took the month of July off. And so
Okay.
I took my family to Europe, which is
Mhm.
something we do every year now for a month. And there's an old part of me that would have been really worried about that.
Yes.
Right? That would have said, oh, the business will decline, right?
Mhm.
I'll lose the momentum. That's a terrible thing to do. But thanks to all the work I've done, right? I realize that time doesn't create my results.
Mhm.
And that, right, yeah, that's not what creates my results.
Yeah.
And so I had a wonderful, rejuvenating, relaxing time with caveats because I do have a 6-year-old who's just a little tornado. And so
Yeah.
traveling
That's a little
overseas
less
with
relaxing
him,
than other
yeah,
situations.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's not really the way a lot of people would think of it, but for
Mhm.
me it was anytime I'm overseas, it's
Mhm.
very inspirational and
Mhm.
rejuvenating, inspiring. So, and then I came back and I basically opened up the portal again. And what I mean by that is I opened up the sales calls again on the calendar. And
So at the time for that month, there just weren't any appointments available on the calendar.
correct.
Okay, so then you open it back up.
Yeah. So then I came back, I opened it back up. I told the universe I'm ready,
Yeah.
right? Like, let's go. And then in came the appointments.
Oh, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
you had several individuals sign up for both of those offers. So you were starting a new group soon, and then you had one-on-one clients come in.
So my group is evergreen. So
Okay,
people
so
come at
people can
all
join
different
anytime.
times. I'm always selling into the mastermind and I'm very selective on who I bring into the mastermind. And
Mhm.
what was beautiful about September is that the women coming in through the sales calls were amazing candidates. And so
Mm.
I was able to say yes to every one of them. They were excited to say yes to join as well. And so there were a lot of sales that happened in
Oh,
that
that's
time frame.
amazing. I bet those are just the most amazing conversations that you have. Cause you like I do sales calls for myself. I call them discovery calls also. And then I do sales calls for other coaches as well. So I go into other coaching businesses and do their high ticket sales for them.
Okay.
And I get so
I didn't
attached to
know
the
that. That's
Yes,
so
yeah,
great.
I do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I get so attached to the people because I think a lot of coaches believe I'm a really great coach, I just can't sell. And so
Uh,
my mission is always to show them when you are selling, it's the exact you're using the exact same skills that you would to coach. You know, you're
yes.
practicing that active listening, you're holding space, you're asking powerful questions, and you're helping someone have that transformation during the sale. So
Mhm.
I was just, but I'm saying I get so attached to those people. So often I'll go into other people's coaching programs. I'm like, I just need to check in how everyone's doing because
Yeah.
I love them. So
I know,
um
they're amazing. Like, the
yeah.
connections that I make, I am every day
Mhm.
grateful for
Yes.
the people that come through and how amazing they are,
Mhm.
and how lucky I am to get to meet women like that and then work with them on
Can you
top of it,
believe that that's your job?
you know?
So great. I have the same experience all the time where you mentioned something else where you're like, wow, I'm living the future that I was imagining. And how am I so lucky to get to do this? So I'm going to ask you my favorite question during this interview.
Okay.
If you had to start over with
Mhm.
none of the rankings that you have, all of the knowledge that you have, and $1,000, what would you do?
Yeah, so I would go straight back to these small in-person offers.
Okay. So tell me
I
what that
would
would look like.
it would so well, because I am so clear on what it
Uh-huh.
is I'm here to do, it would still be this clarity piece,
Okay.
right? I would still be helping people get really clear and be able to step into their own kind of uncommon way for themselves and what that looks like. So again, I'd be right back there offering to help people with that
Yeah.
in groups. Oh, and you had asked before, like, would the group owners be upset about that?
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't answer that. So I would only do it on a day where it's like a public thread where we're
Mm-hmm.
allowed to put out an offer or something like that. And so that's what I would be doing. I don't know if it would be Facebook, it might be an in-person networking event
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, but there would be something where I would be offering an exchange of value
Mm-hmm.
for people in person, and I would be sitting down and I would be helping them know what's possible and how I could
Mm-hmm.
help them get there.
I mean, I remember, we had dinner once about a year and a half ago. Is that right?
I think
And
so.
it so easily came up. What is it that you do? And you just shared exactly. And so many people at the table were like, I might need to have a conversation with you. So you were so able to clearly articulate what it is that you did that it was a very appealing to everyone at the table.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for saying that. I do believe that the beauty is that some people will not be interested at all.
Hmm.
That just saves you a lot of time on discovery calls.
Yes. Yeah. You know
And
right
then
away. Hmm.
right, right, and then other people will find it deeply resonant, and you'll just be able to move straight through into actually helping them. So,
Yeah.
yes, that
But
there
it's
of
so
us,
important
we
that
all
you're
know.
clear. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're clear, and we all know there's that stage we go through where we kind of want to be everything to everybody,
Hmm.
and then getting to the point where you don't need to be anymore. And then
I
that's
love
actually
that.
when your business expands. It's a beautiful place.
So good. Well, this is all incredibly valuable. I mean, I think that anyone can listen to any of the interviews I've done. And if it really resonates with them, if they think, yes, that's my style, they could
Mhm.
pick up your exact strategy and have a roadmap for how to move forward. And I think what you've really emphasized was it was so critical for you to uncover and then address what was going on in your mind in regards to your belief about your whether or not you were an elite coach,
Yes.
your ability to face failure without shying
Mhm.
away from it. Did you cover then? Did you get to the point where you embraced failure, where you looked at it as a learning experience?
Well, now I do.
Yeah. So you
Yeah,
made
now
it
I
much,
do.
so you really had to become comfortable with failure.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, there was, when I was growing up, there was no growth mentality. That just didn't
Mm,
exist. It was very much, you're either good at this or you're not.
so failure
Right?
is
You're either
negative.
smart or you're not.
Hmm.
And, yeah, it's just been such amazing growth these last years to
Yes.
challenge myself through entrepreneurship, to learn all these new ways of of thinking and being, and it goes beyond, we're talking kind of very tactically about business as well,
Mhm,
but there's so much that goes into allowing yourself to receive, right? And
mhm,
being open to the goodness in life and letting things come easy. And there's just so many levels and layers, and you just keep going and going and going
mhm.
and watching your life transform as you do the work inside.
I'm so glad you're sharing that because I have a deep belief that you can learn all the tactics, you can learn all the strategies and still not have a successful business if you're not addressing those underlying issues that are preventing you from doing things. So I love that you added that there's so many layers to this because I mean, I talk all the time about how, when I first set out, I learned all these strategies and techniques and I started applying them and nothing happened. And it's because
Mhm.
I wasn't addressing, what was going on underneath. So I was really grateful to get to learn that. Well, this is amazing. So this is, I feel like you've shared a perfect roadmap that anyone can follow. And so if any of you resonate with Jenna and you want to hear more from you, how can they get a hold of you?
Yes. Well, they should definitely listen to the podcast because I
Mhm,
have so many more kind of tactical bits as well as the
mhm.
energetic side and the mindset side. So I very much believe in holistic coaching. So anything they want, they can find. And then directly on the uncommonway.com
Mhm.
and on all the socials, I'm the uncommon way or uncommon
Perfect.
way. So
Okay.
really easy to find me. They can DM me or drop me a note. Any
Amazing. And I'll put
questions?
all those links below, whether you are watching this on YouTube, all the links will be below, or if you're listening to this on a podcast, then you can find all the links in the description. Yes. And so I would love for people to connect with Jenna, and she's obviously amazing and can help you get clarity on your business. So, yeah, that's all that we have for you today. So, if you're listening right now and you're at the point where you would like to discuss, kind of what model you want to follow to grow your coaching business, you can reach out to Jenna. You can reach out to me. You can book one of those discovery calls with either one of us. My calendar link is at talkwithashley.com. And we can just talk about exactly what we've been talking about today. What is it that you want your business to look like? If you are watching here on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're listening on a podcasting app, then follow and leave a review so that it can just help us reach more individuals. And I, again, thank you so much for being here today, Jenna. And I will see you all next week.